All right, so this is my Week 18 NFL Power Rankings. Let's get started. At number 32, we got the Carolina Panthers. Unsurprisingly here, they lost again this week. They actually got shut out 26-0 versus the Jaguars. They officially have secured the number one pick, which of course is going to the Chicago Bears. Which, if I'm the Bears, I don't know if I want to trade Justin Fields or if I want to trade the number one overall draft pick. But I know I am not going to keep Justin Fields and keep this draft pick because the value of this potential draft pick could be they were saying that it could be better than what they got for last year's number one overall pick. So definitely can't justify drafting any other player besides a quarterback here with the number one overall pick. And if you were to do that, then obviously Justin Fields would be moved. And this had Justin Fields' trade value is probably a second round pick at best. So definitely a tough decision to make for the Bears. But yeah, the Carolina Panthers, not a good team right now. Number 31, we got the Washington Commanders, who are 4-12. Ended up losing this week 27-10 versus the 49ers. Sam Howell started because Jacoby Brissett was injured a little bit in practice. Sam Howell, again, was not a great quarterback in this game. Only 169 yards with one touchdown and two picks. He started out the first 10 games of the season being a pretty decent quarterback, leading the league in NFL passing yards and not having a horrible touchdown to interception ratio. But over the last 5 or 6 weeks-ish, he's been playing some really, really bad football. He's going to get the start in Week 18 as well, but likely it's not going to matter. It's probably going to be his last start for a while because they're right now currently have the number 2 overall pick. I'm probably going to be keeping that spot, at least stay in the top 4, which then it would probably end up taking another quarterback with one of the top 4 picks. And then Sam Howell would likely be backup going into next season. At number 30, we got the Los Angeles Chargers, 5-11. Lost 16-9 versus the Broncos this week. Not a very interesting game for, either team. Obviously, when you have Easton Stick versus Jarrett Stidham, you don't expect a very exciting game. That's exactly what we got. But yeah, they got Kansas City coming up. Week 18, they could potentially get a win because the Chiefs are going to be resting a lot of players. But, this Chargers team still is just not very good at all. And this team is basically all backups anyway. So Chiefs backups versus Chargers backups is probably going to be a very uninteresting game to watch. But Chargers probably still could lose that game. Number 29, they got the New York Jets, who are 6-10. This week they lost 37-20 versus the Browns. Not a horrible game. The Browns are a pretty good team. Trevor Siemian was quarterback. He wasn't a bad quarterback. 261, touchdown and a pick. So he's probably been playing the best football out of any Jets quarterback this year. Not that is saying a whole lot. He's definitely been playing better than Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle, but he's going up against Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle. So it's not a lot that you can really base that off of, but I think he's probably been playing the best quarterback, even though he's mediocre at best. They got New England coming up in Week 18. Not going to matter. That both teams are eliminated from the playoffs. I believe Simeon is going to start again. They also did cut Dalvin Cook this week, which is an interesting move. He wasn't doing much for the New York Jets. He definitely could be a good signing potentially for a team like Baltimore or Dallas, who have some running back depth issues with injuries. So it'll be interesting to see if he signs with a team for this playoff run. At number 28, you got the New York Giants, who are 5-11. They only lost by 1 point this week to the LA Rams. They had a game-winning field goal that they missed with Mason Crosby. They decided to go for 2 and they scored a touchdown with 3 minutes left. They decided to go for 2 for the lead. Ended up missing it, of course, and then that's why they ended up losing by 1. But if they would have kicked that extra point, likely the game would have gone to overtime. Then they could have ended up winning the game. But, it doesn't really matter too much because it's not like the win actually does anything for this team. So I like the aggressiveness because overtime really doesn't help you at all because, a win doesn't really matter too much for you, and a loss actually would help you get a better draft pick. So I'm not exactly very upset about it. At number 27, you got the New England Patriots, who are 4-12. They played pretty good this week. Only lost by 6 points to the Bills. Last time they played the Bills, they actually ended up beating them. That was a long time ago. But yeah, this week they only lost by 6. They did have 4 offensive turnovers. But Bailey Zappi had 3 interceptions in this game. But they still ended up only losing by 6 to the Bills. It was a pretty solid game. They got the Jets coming up this week, which is going to be a Bailey Zappi versus Trevor Siemian game. So not a very interesting game there. But it's definitely this Patriots team could definitely benefit from a loss because currently I believe they're sitting at the fourth overall pick, third or fourth overall pick right now. They definitely want to lose so they can stay in those top four, and that will give them a really really good draft pick to potentially get a guy like Drake May at quarterback. At number 26, got the Minnesota Vikings, who are 7-9. Pretty solid record overall. They're technically, I believe, still alive in the playoffs. They could get the 7th seed, but they just got absolutely destroyed, 33-10 versus the Packers. Jaron Hall, they decided to start Jaron Hall, who did not play good at all. He had 67 yards and an interception before they realized that he, was just not a good quarterback, at least not yet. He was only a rookie, and this was only his second start, so still want to give him some slack. But Nick Mullins definitely would have been a better option because he came in and threw for almost double the amount of yards as Jaron Hall did and got a touchdown. So they're currently still alive in the playoff race. So they need everybody else to lose, basically, for them to be able to get that 7th seed. And they got to play Detroit. When Detroit is also going to be playing their starters because Detroit could move up to the 2 seed. So definitely not going to be easy win for Minnesota. At number 25, you got the Tennessee Titans, who are 5-11. They're planning to play spoiler here for the Texans and stuff. Did not work out very well. They ended up losing 26-3. Ryan Tannehill was the starter. He wasn't bad. Will Levis, actually, I think Will Levis started, but then he got injured pretty early in that game. Ryan Tannehill came in, completed 80% of his passes. So Will Levis played barely anything, and then Ryan Tannehill played pretty solid, but nothing too crazy. He wasn't really good. He didn't throw a touchdown or anything, but ended up losing by 23. They're eliminated from the playoffs, but they still have the opportunity to play spoiler this week with Ryan Tannehill likely to start there against Jacksonville Jaguars, because if they beat the Jags could potentially be out of the playoffs. So definitely would like to play spoiler for your division rivals there. At number 24, we got the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to jump up 6 spots in my rankings after they beat the Philadelphia Eagles 35-31. That was a very interesting game here. They played a lot better than I thought they would have. Their offense was actually really, really good in the second half of that game. I believe they were down like 24 or 27 or 28 or something to like 10. I don't know. They were down by at least 3 scores, I believe. Then they ended up coming all the way back to win the game. So that was really good to see there. DJ Humphries tore his ACL in this game, so that's pretty sad to see. Marquise Brown put him on the season-ending IR, but nothing too bad there. But DJ Humphries could potentially miss the start of next season with his torn ACL, so that's definitely something to be a little bit worried about there. But yeah, they're moving up 6 spots here after an impressive victory over the Eagles. At number 23, we got the Atlanta Falcons, who are 7-9. Still technically could make the playoffs. They could technically win their division right now if the Saints. The Falcons play the Saints this week, so obviously if they win, the Saints would be losing. But yeah, if they win, the Saints would lose, and then they need the Bucs to lose to the Panthers, which I don't think is entirely out of the realm of possibility, but it's definitely not likely. But if the Bucs lose to the Panthers and you guys are able to beat the Saints, you will be the division winner at 8-9. So definitely still a chance, but you would have liked to see them be able to beat the Chicago Bears this week. They lost by 20 points, 37-17, with 4 turnovers on offense. Taylor Heineke had 3 picks. Desmond Ridder came in, threw a pick. Heineke's projected to start this week, but he is questionable with a minor injury. So whoever starts between Ridder and Heineke, you definitely have a chance to beat the Saints. Probably not likely going to happen, but you definitely still have a chance. At number 22, you got the Denver Broncos, who are 8-8. Even with their win last week, they won 16-9 versus the Chargers. But even with that win, they are eliminated from the playoffs because all the other teams, the Colts, the Jags, the Texans, and the Steelers, all won last week. So definitely, it was out of your hands, really. I mean, you could go 2-0 in your last 2 games and miss the playoffs, which is exactly what is happening. So, yeah, you guys could win this upcoming week against the who do you play? The Raiders. Yeah, you could win against the Raiders this week, but it does not matter at all because you're already eliminated from the playoffs. But yeah, you're not expecting too much out of this Broncos team. This Raiders game doesn't really matter for either team, so not really too much to go off of here. One thing to note is Jarrett Stidham did not play bad this game. He did not throw a single pick. He had over 200 yards, so definitely was a competent starting quarterback in his first start this season. At number 21, we got the Las Vegas Raiders. Lost 23-20 versus the Colts. If they would have won that game and be able to win this week, I think they would have technically had a chance to be able to make the playoffs. But with that loss, they are officially eliminated from the playoffs. Aiden O'Connell was pretty good in that game, though. He had nearly 300 yards with 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams had a couple touchdowns in that game as well. But yeah, you got the Denver Broncos this week. Should be a fun game. Both of you guys should be, fighting just because it's a divisional game. You want to keep the Broncos from having a winning record, so that's a mini spoiler there. But yeah, it's not really too much of a thing. But if you did beat the Broncos, I believe you would technically be second place in the division. So not that it really matters, but that is a little bit of a bragging right move there if you guys are able to win that game. At number 20, we got the Chicago Bears, who have been one of the NFL's hottest teams over the last 5 or 6 weeks. I believe they've won 4 of the last 5 or something like that. So been really playing really good football over the last few weeks. They won by 20 points against the Falcons this week, put up 37 points. Justin Fields had over 300 total yards with 2 touchdowns. It's a really good game there. DJ Moore had 159 yards himself with a touchdown. So they're playing really, really good football on both sides of the ball, really. It's been really impressive to see. And that really, the way Justin Fields have been playing the last few weeks definitely makes it a very difficult situation. I already talked about it earlier with their number 1 overall draft pick being locked up. You got the opportunity to trade that number 1 draft pick for a lot of talent. Hopefully, if you're trading that pick, you're probably going to get the first-round pick this year from whatever team, a first-round pick next year, then probably a second-round pick, and a starting caliber player like they got in the DJ Moore pick in the DJ Moore trade last year. So you maybe could get another top tier-ish. Not a top tier. DJ Moore's not a top tier receiver, but he's definitely a really good receiver. So potentially you could get a really, really good receiver, or you could get try to get a really good defensive player with a couple draft picks as well. Really going to be up to what team has the best package and what teams are willing to move up to number 1. Or you could just potentially just move Justin Fields. At number 19, you got the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 8-8. They didn't play bad this week. They lost to the Chiefs 25-17. Wasn't a bad game. Jake Browning, was all right with about 230 yards, a touchdown, and another rushing touchdown on top of that. So he played pretty solid. Their defense just did not stop the Chiefs that much. They held the Chiefs to a lot of field goals. I believe they had 6 field goals in this game. But you ended up still losing the game by 8 points. You're officially eliminated from the playoffs. And your Week 18 game is against the Cleveland Browns, who already locked up the number 5 seed. So it doesn't really matter if you guys were to win or to lose this game. You're not playing any spoiler at all, but you probably want to win that game just to help give you a little bit of an ego boost by giving your team a winning record. At number 18, you got the New Orleans Saints, who are 8-8. Took care of the Bucs last week, 23-13, which makes this game this week very important. You guys could win the division if you beat the Falcons and the Bucs lose to the Panthers, or there's a world in where you win. The Bucs also win, and you could still go into the playoffs as the 7th seed. So that's really good to see there. You have multiple ways to make the playoffs, but you're going to need a few other teams to lose for you guys to be able to make either one of those playoff seeds. At number 17, we got the Green Bay Packers, who played really good this week. Won 33-10, I believe, versus the Vikings. Yeah, 33-10. Jordan Love had 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. He played really good. Jaden Reed had 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones had 100-plus yards. You guys played really good. You guys definitely could make the playoffs this year. I believe you're currently in the playoffs. If you win the game against the Bears this week, you are officially in the playoffs. You could be the 6th or the 7th seed, depending on if the Los Angeles Rams win as well. If the Los Angeles Rams lose and you guys win, you're the 6th seed, I think. If they win and you also win, then you're the 7th seed. If you lose, I believe you are not officially out if the Seattle Seahawks lose and the New Orleans Saints also lose. But all likelihood, if you guys lose, you're probably going to be out. And if you win, you'll be in. Number 16, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who've been playing really solid. They're 8-8 right now. Not a great game this week. Lost 23-13 versus the Saints, but it all comes down to this last week against the Panthers. So, your Week 17 game wasn't all too important because either way, you would have had to beat the Carolina Panthers this week for you guys to be in the playoffs. So, You guys should be able to beat the Panthers this week, but Baker Mayfield was listed as questionable on the injury report with a minor rib injury. So if he misses that game, you got Kyle Trask starting. I would expect Baker Mayfield to be a dog and pull it out, even if he's slightly injured. I believe he will do everything he can to play in this game, and I think you guys will probably be able to win against the Carolina Panthers. But if for some reason he does not play, and you guys have Kyle Trask starting, I think the Panthers probably will play spoiler and end up beating you guys and knocking you out of the playoffs. Number 15, we got the Seattle Seahawks, who are 8-8. Pretty solid game this week. They still end up losing 30-23, but they didn't play bad. The bad thing is Jamal Adams, they placed him on the IR. I think they did that before the game, actually, but it's definitely a sad thing to see because he's a really important part of your defense. And now that you don't have him, you didn't have him for this game, and it obviously made a little bit of a difference. You won't have him for Week 18, and you won't have him if you make the playoffs. You won't even have him until the NFC Championship game if you were to make it all the way there. But first, you still got to make the playoffs, which you're going to have to count on the Green Bay Packers losing, and you guys are going to have to win your game. You guys play the Arizona Cardinals, so it definitely could be a very winnable game, but you're not going to control your own destiny. You're going to need the Chicago Bears to also beat the Green Bay Packers for you guys to be in the playoffs. So that is what you guys have to be rooting for this week. You also cut Frank Clark this week. He wasn't playing much for you guys, but he's definitely a dude that is prone to step up in the playoffs, which means he is available for somebody like the Kansas City Chiefs to just re-sign on their team for another playoff run. At number 14, we got the Los Angeles Rams, who are 8-8. They've been playing pretty solid. They lost this week, obviously. No, wait, hold up. No, they won this week. Hold up. I think they're 9-7. I think I put this in wrong. I believe they're 9-7. I'm 98% sure they're 9-7. I just put that in wrong. Yeah, they're 9-7. Sorry, they are 9-7. So they are secured in the playoffs right now, I believe. But they still could be the 7th seed. I think it's not going to be too big of a deal if they're the 6th or the 7th seed. They're going to have to play the Lions or the Cowboys/Eagles. So either way, it's not going to be that much of a difference playing the Lions or playing the Eagles or the Cowboys. Those three teams are all around the same level. You guys have played really solid football the last few weeks. And this week specifically, you won by 1 against the Giants. Not the best game there, but a win is a win. You're going to rest your starters this week. You got Carson Wentz starting a game. That's going to be fun to see what Carson Wentz can do. He hasn't played a game all season, so him getting a start will be a little bit cool to see there. At number 13, we got the Indianapolis Colts, who are 9-7. Playing pretty solid football. Them, along with the Jags and the Texans, are all around the same caliber of team right now. The Colts this week won 23-20 versus the Raiders. Not the best game there, but a win is a win, and that makes you need to beat the Houston Texans this week to be in the playoffs. You could still be in with a loss, I believe. And you still could win the division also if Jacksonville were to lose and you guys were to win. So I think you could still be in with a loss as long as all the other teams end up losing, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But you're probably going to want to win your game. And you guys play, I believe, the Saturday night game. So you're going to know, obviously, what you need to happen for you guys to be in the playoffs. At number 12, we got the Houston Texans, who are 9-7. Same boat as the Indianapolis Colts. I'm not 100% sure if you guys are in the playoffs if you lose, but I think there's a chance. I'm not 100% sure. But obviously, if you guys win, you're in the playoffs. If you guys win and the Jags lose, then you are the division leaders. And you play the Colts this week, if that wasn't clear. At number 11, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Same boat as the Texans and Colts, except you guys are currently the division leaders. So if you guys win, you're the division leader, you're the 4 seed. If you lose, I believe there's still a chance for you to make the playoffs as the 7th seed. But if you guys lose and all the other teams win, the winner of the Colts-Texans game will obviously be ahead of you. If the Steelers win, then you guys will be out of the playoffs if you guys end up losing this week. But you play the Tennessee Titans, so you should be able to win that game. But Titans could play spoiler and come out with a really good game. But I think you guys should be able to win that game and lock up the division. At number 10, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, unlike these other teams below them, they do not control their own destiny for the playoffs. There is a world, I believe, in where they can go 10-7 and not make the playoffs if the Jacksonville Jaguars win and the winner of the Colts and Texans game is going to be ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. So there's a world in where you guys do not end up making the playoffs if you win your game, but you know I think you guys have a good chance to make the playoffs because um, I think the Buffalo Bills might end up losing their game. If the Bills lose, um, and the winner Texans Colts game will be in the playoffs. If the Jags win, they'll be 4th seed. The Colts Texans winner will be the 6th seed if the Bills lose. And if you guys win, you will be the 7th seed, and the Bills will be eliminated from the playoffs. So there's a world where you're in the playoffs. It's not 100% up to you, and it's not 100% likely as well. But I think there's definitely a strong possibility you guys are in the playoffs as long as you be able to beat the Baltimore Ravens, who are going to be resting all of their starters. So you definitely have a very easy path to win your game, but still not guaranteed at all for you guys to be able to make the playoffs. At number 9, we got the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 11-5. This week was not a good week for them. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals, which makes things very, very messed up a little bit because you definitely were on track to be the number 2 seed in the NFC. And now, if you want to be the number 2 seed, you are going to need the Dallas Cowboys to lose their game this week. So definitely not 100% chance that you're going to be the number 2 seed, but you're going to at least be the number 5 seed, which isn't going to be a horrible game either. The number 5 seed might actually give you a better round 1 matchup than the number 2 seed would, because number 2 you're going to end up playing like the Seattle Seahawks or the Green Bay Packers. At number 5, you're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Falcons or the Saints. So probably have an easier matchup at number 5, but obviously number 2 gives you home field advantage. At number 8, you got the Detroit Lions. They kind of got screwed this week against the Cowboys. Obviously, that messed up call the ref made. He didn't know who reported. He thought that number 70 reported when number 68 reported, but, botched call really messed up this game, messed up the Lions' chances, because the Lions, if they won that game, they would currently be the number 2 seed in the NFC. And then there'd really be no realistic chance that they are not the number 2 seed as long as they as long as the Eagles also still lost, and then they didn't. I guess they could still lose next week, and then the Eagles could have won, and the Eagles could have moved up ahead of them. But if they would have won that game against the Cowboys, they would be the number 1 seed as long as they are able to beat the Minnesota Vikings. Right now, they will likely be the number 2 seed, the number 3 seed. Sorry, they still could be the number 2 seed if the Cowboys and Eagles both lose. But if either one of those teams wins, then the Lions will be the 3 seed, which isn't horrible because 3 seed you're going to play the Rams, 2 seed you're going to play the Seahawks, or the Packers. But it's not too much of a difference. But number 2 seed definitely would be better. But all likelihood you're going to be the 3 seed. Number 7, you got the Dallas Cowboys, going to be in the same boat as the Eagles I just mentioned, except you guys are obviously currently the lead of the division. But again, if you guys lose and the Eagles win, you're going to drop to the 5 seed. If you guys lose and the Lions win, and the Eagles also lose, you will drop to the 3 seed. Not too much of a difference there, like I just mentioned with the Detroit Lions. Yeah. At number 6, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. Going to move up 3 spots here. Your offense looked better this week, but you still got so many opportunities to score touchdowns that you had to end up getting field goals, which is isn't bad because you got 6 field goals in this game. Harrison Butker played really good, 6 for 6 from field goal range, but you can't really count on that in the playoffs. You're going to need more than field goals to win games in the playoffs. But it was definitely a good thing to see that your offense was able to actually move the ball. You only had 1 turnover this week, better than recent weeks, obviously. Pacheco looked really, really good in this game. Rasheed Rice was good as well. But your defense was amazing in this game, but your offense still got to be better. You put out 25 points, which is pretty respectable, to say the least, but you're probably going to need at least 2 to 3 touchdowns a game rather than 1 touchdown and 6 field goals come playoff time. So you got to be able to finish out those drives with a couple more touchdowns rather than field goals. But it's definitely a good progression to see from this week as opposed to the Raiders game, obviously. Number 5, you got the Miami Dolphins, who got absolutely throttled 56-19 versus the Baltimore Ravens. Doesn't change too much about how I feel about the Miami Dolphins team. Your offense wasn't great. Your defense obviously sucked balls, but the Ravens are a really, really good team. I don't really think anything less of this Miami Dolphins team. It's just you got locked up by a good defense, and your own defense got exposed a little bit. You also decided when you were down by 30 points in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left. They're going to keep Bradley Chubb out on defense. And then Bradley Chubb ended up tearing his ACL and is going to be out for the season. So that is definitely a problem. But your defense already was not the best, and now it's definitely taken a hit with, Bradley Chubb missing the rest of the season. Obviously, he's going to miss the playoffs, which is a very problematic experience for this defense, considering, you just got torched by the Baltimore Ravens with Bradley Chubb, but now losing one of your better defensive players when you got to play a really important game against the Buffalo Bills in Week 18, where the winner of that game will be the winner of the division. And the loser will be probably the 6th seed, potentially the 5 seed, but probably end up being the 6th seed there. So not a great way to finish out your season if you're the Miami Dolphins. But if you are able to beat the Bills, it'll definitely give you a little bit of leeway, because as the number 2 seed, you'll likely be able to beat the number 7 seed, whether that be the Steelers or the Colts/Texans. I'll probably pick the Miami Dolphins to win that game. But if you guys somehow to lose to the Bills, right, and be the 6th seed, then you're going to end up playing an away playoff game at Kansas City in round 1. I would not want to do that if I was Tyreek Hill. I'm having to play the Chiefs at Arrowhead in the playoffs. That would be a very interesting storyline, and I don't think it would go very well for the Miami Dolphins. Number 4, we have the Buffalo Bills here. They were number 6 last week. Going to jump up 2 spots here, jumping up ahead of the Miami Dolphins. I really don't know who I want to win this game. I don't really care who wins this game, but like I just said, as a Chiefs fan, I would love the Bills to win this game and us to be able to play Tyreek Hill at Arrowhead in round 1 of the playoffs. That'd be a really, really interesting storyline. I would love to see that happen. I don't really care who wins this game, because, if the Bills lose, they could potentially be out of the playoffs, which is something I would love to see, because obviously if the Bills are out of the playoffs, we're going to be playing like the Colts or Texans in round 1, as opposed to the Miami Dolphins or potentially the Buffalo Bills as well. They could still be the 6th seed if they end up losing this game. But I would much rather play the Colts or Texans in round 1 than the Bills or Dolphins, because Bills or Dolphins are way better teams, obviously. But, Buffalo Bills have a do-or-die game in this week against the Miami Dolphins. They could win the game and be the number 2 seed. They could lose the game and be the 6th or 7th seed, or they could lose the game and be out of the playoffs. So, you're gonna know exactly what's gonna happen, because you guys got the Sunday night game. You got the last game of the season, of the regular season. So going into that game, you're going to know if you lose, you'll still be in the playoffs. But if it comes down to that, and going into that game, if you guys win, you're the 2 seed, and if you lose, you're out of the playoffs. I would expect the Bills to be able to win that game. At number 3, we got the Cleveland Browns, who are 11-5, playing really, really good football right now. Number 5 seed in the AFC, but the second best record in the AFC. I think they're one of the best teams in football right now. Their defense is amazing. Their offense has been playing really, really solid. They played really good, 37-21, the win versus the Jets. You got a game in Week 18, which is meaningless, so you're going to bench all your guys. And you're playing Jeff Driscoll this week, which is going to be your 5th starting quarterback this week. And if he somehow wins this game, which you're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, if Jeff Driscoll can win this game, you guys will have 5 different starting quarterbacks that won a game for you this year, which I believe is an NFL record. So that'd be really, really cool. But it doesn't really matter if you guys win this game or not. So yeah, number 2, we got the 49ers. 12-4, played really good this week, bounced back from their last couple weeks there. They looked a lot better. Won 27-10 versus Commanders here, so that's good. You definitely bounced back from that Ravens game on Christmas with a really good game from Brock Purdy with 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey did get slightly injured there, but he also has 3 more weeks of rest until he's going to have to really play football again, because Week 18, you're going to rest your guys anyways, because you got the 1 seed locked up, you got a first-round bye, and then, you got until like January 18th or something, whatever day that is, until he's going to be playing football again. So he has a long time to rest up. So he should be full strength come his first playoff game. At number 1 is, of course, the Baltimore Ravens, who just locked up the number 1 seed with the throttling of the Miami Dolphins. Lamar Jackson is going to be the MVP. He's not even a Pro Bowl starter. Tua got the Pro Bowl start over Lamar Jackson, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense considering Lamar is going to be the MVP. So I don't know how the MVP is not an all-pro player. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that doesn't really matter too much. This Ravens team is the best team in football currently, the best offense in the league, definitely. They've been playing really good defense against really good offensive teams like the Dolphins and the Niners. So, with that, they are currently my favorite to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, there's still a lot of stuff that can happen in the playoffs, but as of right now, they're definitely my favorite to win the Super Bowl. And they definitely could also go out and sign a guy like Dalvin Cook, who I've heard that the Ravens are interested in, and that would not be a bad thing to help you get a guy who's a veteran guy with really good experience, get him in the playoffs there, just as another depth option there. And my game picks here, it's week 18. I would not bet on week 18 games really because, who really knows what's going to happen, but this is what I'm going to give you here. Last week I went 13-3. So my overall record is 168-88. Pretty good overall record there. My lock of the week is 12-7. My upset is 9-8. So at least my upset is a winning record. My lock of the week should be a better record than that. My upset of the week usually is a toss-up because, they're upsets. It's not supposed to happen. Me having a winning record there, I think it's pretty good. But yeah, I got the Steelers over the Ravens. Ravens are resting everybody, so that's the thought process there. Colts over Texans, that should be a fun game. I really don't know who's going to win, but I'm going to go with the Colts right now. Like I said, I would not bet on any of these games really, because week 18 is so unpredictable. But yeah, I got the Saints over the Falcons. Falcons just played really bad against the Bears, so I think the Saints could take advantage of that and get a win there. Bucks over Panthers is my lock of the week, even though I am not very confident in that pick either. But I've used a lot of my teams. I don't want to use the same team twice in my lock of the weeks. I've used so many teams right now that the Bucks were one of my few options left. So that's what I'm going to pick here. I got the Patriots over the Jets. That game is going to suck, but I'm going to pick the Patriots there, I guess. Bengals over Browns. I'll pick the Bengals because the Browns are resting a bunch of dudes. Jeff Driscoll is starting, so yeah. Jags over Titans. You need the win to win the division, so I think you're going to be able to get it. So that's the thought process there. Lions over Vikings. Lions, you need this win to potentially be the 2 seed. And, the Vikings just aren't the best football team right now, so you should win that game pretty easily. Seahawks, Cardinals should be a tough game considering the Cardinals just beat the Eagles. But the Seahawks need this win to be in the playoffs, and I think they're going to get it. Packers, Bears. I'm actually going to pick the Bears to play spoiler here over the Packers. Bears have played really good football the last 5 weeks. Packers have not been playing great football the last 3-4 weeks. They played really good this week, but the last 3 weeks or so before that, they did not play really good. So that's why I'm going to pick the Bears right now. They're just a hotter team right now, and they've been playing better football on both sides of the ball throughout the last about 5 overall weeks. I got the Rams over Niners as my upset of the week. When I looked at this, the Rams were plus 1,600 or 160 or whatever to win that game. I don't really know why because the Niners are resting a bunch of dudes, and the Rams don't really need the win, but could definitely use the win to solidify a 6 seed. So I don't know why the Rams were so big underdogs there. Cowboys over Commanders shouldn't be too hard. Cowboys need this win to win the division, so shouldn't be a tough game there. Chiefs over Chargers should be a very horrible game to watch because both teams are basically playing a bunch of backups. So, it's not going to be a very fun game, but I'm going to pick the Chiefs. Raiders over Broncos. Raiders are just better than the Broncos right now. Aiden O'Connell is better than Jarrett Stidham. Devontae Adams is better than anybody on the Broncos team. So, yeah. Eagles over Giants. Eagles need the win to potentially be the 2 seed. So, they're definitely going to get the win, I believe, even though they did end up losing to the Cardinals this week. I think they'll be able to beat the Giants. Dolphins, Bills, I'm going to pick the Dolphins here. I'm not at all confident in that game. I really have no idea what's going to happen in that game, but I'm going to pick the Dolphins. I had to pick somebody. I'm going to pick the Dolphins. And yeah, that's my video. Thank you for watching. I think this is probably a longer video than I've had in the last few weeks. I'm not 100% sure on that, but if it is, I'm sorry. But it is going to be my last regular season power ranking. So the next couple weeks, next week shouldn't be that long because all the teams that are not in the playoffs, I'm not going to have too much to talk about. And then, after that, for the playoffs, I'm just going to rank the teams that are still in the playoffs.